There's one presentation left before the break, and it's a presentation of Sandro Sinigaglia with his colleague Danny Moerenhout from ING. Sandro is the head of the e-fraud competence center at ING Belgium. He's also speaker at international cybersecurity conferences, and he's a topic leader for cybersecurity at the Solvay Business School. Sandro will talk about how data analytics can be used to expose cyber criminals. So welcome, Danny and Sandro. I heard it was going to be a cat and mouse game, so I'm wondering, yeah, who is the cat and who is the mouse?
I'm the cat. Thank you. So, good morning, dear audience. We'll try to play this cat and mouse game in front of you for 12 minutes. The shift to online business and online banking has increased also the activity in cybercrime, of course. Cybercriminals have followed the trend. The complexity, the increased complexity in the attacks requires a totally new approach for us in defense. So my colleague Danny and I will try to showcase how data can expose cybercriminal activity. Of course, because of the nature of the talk about cybercrime and fraud, we will have to keep it high level because of obvious confidentiality reasons. Nonetheless, I'm confident that this talk will give you a good idea of how data has become crucial in our daily fight against cybercrime. So, let's start. So, I'm Mr. Blackhat. This is my nickname. This is not my parents intended to give me as a name. But as Mr. Blackhat, I will try to explain to you what my favorite game is. And my favorite game is attacking customers of banks. It's nothing personal. I just do this as a living. So some time ago, what I did is I sent mails around, a lot of mails around, trying to find people who want to make easy money. We call them mules. The only thing they have to do is open a bank account and stand by, waiting for my further instructions. Some time ago, I also sent another kind of mails to thousands of people with a link to an infected website. This is called spray and pray. We spray and we pray that someone will click. Easy. They always click. Happy clickers. When they click, basically what they do is they download something, and alongside with the payload, they also download a malware. This malware will infect their machines, and this is called drive-by download. So the only thing you have to do is just wait for these machines to become robots under my control. When they will click download and then connect to a bank, the malware will wake up. It will wake up in the machine. It will block the connection to the bank. It will remain local. It will produce a fake logon screen, just as the bank one. Then the victim will introduce his credentials. The malware will steal the credentials and send them over to me. This is called man in the browser because it stays local in the browser. The victim has never been in contact with the bank yet. But now I have all the credentials to establish a connection, a legitimate connection to the bank. And when I am into the bank, I'm also out with the money, and I will send the money to my mule accounts. They will take some part of it, and they will leave most of the money to me, because I'm the organizer of all this. By the way, I see a victim connecting, so let's see what happens now.
What Mr. Blackhat here doesn't really know is that as a banker, I know that these attacks exist, and I'm also preparing for this. So when he was building up his network of mules and machines, I was working with some white hat hackers, and they gained access to his command and control server. Now, they're not taking them down because then he would just change servers and I'm nowhere then. What they do is they provide me with his configuration files. Now, all these files contain crucial information that he needs for the attack, but that I can use in my defenses. So these are lists of IP addresses of victims, of his machines, but also his list of mules that he wants to use. Maybe the list of infected customers or the infected devices. So I can take all these lists and just put them in my system. And this will protect my customer. Now, I can choose an action based on these lists. What will I do on it? Will I just block the session? Will I block a transaction? Or am I not so sure what this information is about and I can ask a human analyst to go further into it? But let's not forget that human analysis takes time. And I don't have time. Time is very crucial in a fraud attack. It has to go very quickly. So what I'm looking for is a data item, like an IP address or something, that I can use to block immediately. So I see that somebody is connecting from an infected device now. This is an old malware that I know, and so I'm not taking any chances here. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not putting it towards a human analyst. I'm just blocking it. So what do you think about that, Mr. Blackhat?
Yeah, interesting, interesting. So next time I will play it differently. So basically I'm caught. I'm caught because my enemy has a basic defense in place. Lists, blacklists, and so on. It's fair, okay. So I will move it to the next level. This time I will ask my mules to react much faster so that they cannot be detected. I will also proxy my connections, meaning that my IP address is not shown. I will also study the bank, study more about this platform, this online platform. I will try to understand what a typical customer of this bank is doing to have like a normal behavior when I'm attacking. I will also test the bank. I will try to put some fake payments or little payments. Actually, they don't have to be fake. I can connect and do €1 payments and see how it is behaving. Then I can move a bit forward and spend some money to see the limit on mobile, for instance. What is the limit on mobile? Interesting. Then I can play better. I will analyze the bank better. I will analyze the customer better. And with all this, I'm confident that next time I can do it. So let's launch another man-in-the-browser attack.
If he adapts, I need to adapt as well. So I also need to have a better understanding of my customers. I can't just rely on these lists I've used in the past and hope that I can score a bullseye every time. I need to have a good understanding of what my customers do. What are the types of transactions that they usually do? What are the average amounts that they use? What are the devices they are using? How do they actually use the channels? I need to put all that information together and understand this. And I'll also do it on the victim, on the mules he's used with the victims in the past. I need to understand these mules because maybe I can understand better what is happening over there as well. Unfortunately, putting all that together, I can't do this on an individual level. I need to have another system. I need to build some rules and use this data, average amounts, beneficiaries used in the past, and I will build these rules and they will defend me. I think with that, I can protect the customers better and the banks better as well. But I do see that maybe in the future, I might need a more sophisticated system. I think I'll contact the data analyst department and ask them for some help.
And indeed, we did a good job. The colleagues at the defense department, they had something in place and something quite elaborate, detection tools and so on. But how can data help them in their fight against cybercrime? I'll see with my colleague Danny, analysts like me, and we will have this discussion about how we can do things. Hi, Danny.
Hi, Sandro. Here's your coffee. Hey, you look surprisingly like that famous hacker, Mr. Blackhat.
So you're not only an analyst, you're also funny, okay? Danny, if we gather all the information into one big place called maybe data lake, and we play something on it so that we expose, we see anomalies in behaviors, in patterns, would that help?
Probably, but anomalous, what is that exactly? We have a number of types of customers, and what is anomalous for one is totally normal for another. Take me, for example, I've never ever transferred money outside of the European Union, but businesses do that on a day-to-day basis. How are you going to detect that abnormality?
So you suggest that a simple split between retail and business customers would be enough?
That's not going to take it, I think. I think we need to abandon these classical lines of segmentation. I think we need to look for common elements first and then group into homogeneous groups.
So a consistent set of data, and then we get our subject matter experts to dive into it?
That could work, but I think that the human intelligence has its limits. I think we need to bring some technology in the mix. If we run some algorithms on our data, then we can do actual personalized profiles of our customers and really understand what is different between you and me. Your transaction behavior will be totally different from mine. So in those algorithms, they can have all these profiles that will detect this anomalous behavior a lot faster.
Yeah, but that's focused on one customer, on one victim, right? So what about the surroundings? What about the environment of this victim?
What do you suggest there then?
I suggest connecting the dots. And to connect the dots, maybe something like social network analysis or analytics could help. Because then we can ask ourselves the questions like, what machines were used by any potential accomplice? What are the relationships, friends of this victim doing? And then with all that, we might be able to expose something more than just the victim.
Mm-hmm. And then we can actually close the loop. We can use that information that we find of accomplices, for example, and update our lists that we heard about in the beginning. But I think that knowledge can also be used to improve the efficiency of our rules. I think we can really build a good system there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, guys, this is the end of our role-playing game. Danny?
Yeah, this cat and mouse game is actually happening on a day-to-day basis, and it's constantly evolving. What we've shown here is a sequential evolution, but in reality, of course, this changes, and there's ping-ponging, and old methods go back, and old methods that we use to defend will still work. So data that we use is still sometimes very raw data that we can just have a bullseye hit on it. And sometimes we need to have a lot more. We need to have these rules, but we need to go deeper into the analysis as well. We constantly need to know what data we have, need to analyze it and use it to improve the defenses against fraud.
Yeah, and remember one thing. On the internet, nothing is what it seems. Thank you.